Hi, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Bengal Magazine. And we've got a very interesting show today, kind of a unique show. We're not really going to talk about athletics per se, but we're going to talk about students and academics and a little about what's going on at Buffalo State Athletics. And first up is Jerry Boyce, the boss, the athletics director. Jerry's going to talk about the renovation to Houston Gym, a little update there. But then he's going to talk about the non-traditional season of football, of which he is the head coach. And then after that, softball joins us. Sam Strapason and Brianna Fenski will join us. They're both seniors and they're math majors, and they're going to North Carolina State for a graduate program that's very, very unique. And then after that, we're still going to talk about academics, and Kelsey Bashore, a terrific volleyball player, she's joining us. She has scored a once-in-a-lifetime internship at Under Armour, so we're going to talk to Kelsey about that. So it's an interesting show. Hope you stay with us. We'll be right back with Jerry Boyce. We're joined by Jerry Boyce, the athletics director and also the head football coach here at Buffalo State. And boss, thanks for being back on the show. I know you're busy these days. It's interesting. Yesterday we had a nice little meeting, a conference call with the architects concerning Houston Gym, and I find it absolutely amazing how close we're getting. It seems like we're talking about finishing products now inside Houston Gym rather than blowing out walls. Give us a little update on where we are.
Well, it appears, Tom, that we may even be a little bit ahead of schedule.
Wouldn't that be nice?
And it's sometimes they work so far ahead of time that when they're talking to us, it almost seems like, wow, it's right around the corner. So it's very, it's a exciting project that's going on, and to see what it's going to look like, and then really be able to, as they're finishing the demolition phase and all the underground stuff, to start to see it go, you really will get a sense of progress.
Right.
And so it just continues to be one of those great, exciting projects that we've been looking forward to for a while.
Yeah, I find it amazing. You said, we see it early on as blowing out walls and a lot of concrete and debris, and now all of a sudden you see the concrete trucks coming in to pour the concrete. Any timetable on where we are and when they think we'll get back in?
Well, if the planets stay all lined up, which they have been so far, we're hopeful that during that fall, maybe parts of the summer of 14, that we're moving back in stages. Hopefully, obviously, the fall sports, and to get them settled, and so that as we start the fall season of 2014, those areas are all set. So I know there's going to be a little bit of staging as we go during that summer of and fall of 2014, but that's kind of the what we're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very exciting, and I just simply cannot wait for this to happen. Let's go to your other hat now, and football. And it's April, and we're talking football. And yet the NCAA allows what they call the non-traditional season, or as we call non-trad in the office. Tell us about the non-traditional season to our viewers. What's it all about, and why did the NCAA come up with a concept like this?
Well, it's kind of an interesting phenomenon a little bit. Many years ago, back in the 60s and 70s, Division III had non-traditional type of seasons.
Okay.
Little philosophical changes, they went away from that, but they have really in the last decade or so gone back to offering non-traditional, basically for the fall and spring sports.
Okay.
The fall have their regular season, and the spring is their non-traditional season. Spring has their traditional season in the spring, and the fall is their non-traditional.
There you go.
They're given 15 practices.
Okay.
Football is not quite, a little bit not unlike the other sports because there are no helmets and shoulder pads.
Okay.
So you really can't practice the sport.
Right.
The other sports can. So the emphasis in the springtime is, number one, conditioning.
Gotcha.
It gives us a real good chance to see our kids run and move around and do agilities and all those types of things. That is the number one focus. Then after that, it's skill development.
Okay.
Fundamentals in every aspect, whether it be offense, defense, or even the kicking game. We really don't get a chance to do too much in terms of us against them,
Right.
because you put your kids in a bad position that way without the helmets and shoulder pads. So it's not, you can't practice the true sport,
Right.
but it does serve a purpose of coming together and seeing each other and practicing together and developing or continuing that development of the camaraderie that is so important for a team.
Sure. And so if you're around Koller Field at 6 in the morning off of Grant Street, or you can see the Bengals and Jerry out there, and he giggles because he's up at 5 a.m. You had mentioned these 15 days. Is it 15 straight days, or can you prolong that over 30 days? Do they give you like 15 days and 20 days? How does that go?
They give you the window of 5 weeks to get that in.
5 weeks.
So
okay.
we practice on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning.
Okay.
Get up, get it done, and be done with it.
And then off to class. You said there's not a lot you can do, but even without pads and helmets, can you have walkthroughs in terms of your plays or playbook?
Oh, yes.
And do you do that as a coach? Do you start installing some things this early?
Oh, yes. Yes, Tom. A lot of it we do versus air with nobody out there. And that serves the purpose from a detail standpoint. And we give sometimes basically our own look, you might say. So the offensive second group offensively is playing defense against the first group offense, so that because you want to avoid contact. That's the biggest thing is to avoid the contact. So we still get to do the conceptual pieces, but it's just, you don't see the real development of the play, and sometimes even of the players, because anybody can do what we're doing.
Right.
But the game is played with helmets and shoulder pads. And sometimes you don't find out about any one particular young man, if he's a very good football player, until he puts those helmets and shoulder pads on.
Well, let me ask you, we got about a minute and a half. Is there thoughts from your colleagues across the country to add a little bit more to non-traditional, maybe get some pads on or helmets, or is this?
Absolutely, Tom. Among the football coaches there are, for reasons that I can understand a little bit, Division III is afraid of having helmets and shoulder pads on a Division III.
Right.
And so I have my thoughts and opinions on that, obviously, because I think that you can do that, but you don't want full 15 days of that.
Okay.
You need what we do for a certain period of time, and it would be nice to have 6 practices, something like that, with the helmets and shoulder pads to get some of those answers that we don't get when those pads aren't on.
Yeah, it would just seem like all the other sports probably are a full complement when they work out, and you're kind of restricted in terms of what you can do.
You're right on that.
Okay. Well, Jerry, I appreciate you coming on. I know you got to scoot on out of here, but thanks for the update on the renovation, and best of luck getting up at 5 o'clock and going to non-traditional practice. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, we want to talk about the Bengal Club Golf Classic. It's coming up quickly, Monday, July 8th at the Briarwood Country Club. It benefits the 400 student athletes in their programs here at Buffalo State. You can go online at buffalostateathletics.com. You'll see the big banner right on top. Click on, fill out the registration form. Maybe you want to sponsor the tournament, can't play, but you want to sponsor, or maybe you just want to get a foursome together. We would appreciate that. And send that in to me, or you can give me a call at the office at 878-6514. That's the Bengal Club Golf Classic on Monday, July 8th, to benefit our student athletes. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk math. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to have a unique segment here. We're going to not so much talk about softball. We're going to talk about mathematics. And if you're trying to figure all that out, just stay with us for the next 8 minutes. But we're joined now by Sam Strapason and Bree Fenski. Thank you, ladies, from the softball team, both seniors from the area, Williamsville and Cheektowaga, I believe. So welcome. Real quickly, how's the season going? 6-4 in the conference, moving right on up. And it seems to me like as the season goes, the team is maturing a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word, but how would you guys describe the season?
The season's definitely starting to come together. I believe we're on our rising peak right now.
There you go.
We're just about, it's the perfect time. We have a few more conference games and lead us right into playoffs to be at the top.
I was about to say, it's a nice time, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a lot of really important conference games coming up. And we have Geneseo Brockport this weekend, which is huge for us.
Yep.
So it's a good time to be hitting our peak.
Absolutely. And speaking of hitting, you're both doing very, very well as seniors. Sam's batting 370 and Bree's at 395. Is that where you thought you'd be right now?
It's definitely right up there.
Okay.
Having a bunch of good games in a row is really nice.
Yeah,
and
got a little streak going there.
Yeah, it's doing well.
And Bree?
Yeah, same thing. Our team as a whole has been hitting pretty well.
Okay.
So it's nice to have a little bit of individual success.
Yeah, coach is in the audience right now, and she's probably thinking 400 for both of you, but that's the way the coaches think. They're never happy, are they, ladies? So let me ask you real quickly. I mean, real quick now. 36 divided by 4. It's 9, ladies. Sorry about that. You wouldn't win, but you are. Sorry to embarrass you, but you are fantastic, incredible math majors. Sam has a 3.9 GPA. Bree is at 3.8. And you're both into what is now known as analytics, correct? Why don't you tell the audience what analytics is?
It's a difficult field to explain.
Okay.
It's a very mathematical, statistical-based program. You can really go into any job. The market's huge right now. Businesses, sports, banking, they're all looking into this program because what you basically do is you take large sets of data and you make it mean something. You put a meaning behind the data.
Interesting. Do you have a career goal with this? Do you have something in mind, this is what I want to do with this, or are you just kind of going out there and kind of figuring out where it leads?
Yeah, right now kind of exploring all options. I do want to get into sports in some way. The Buffalo Bills just opened an analytics department, so that would be definitely a goal for me.
Wow, fantastic. So this is math and statistics kind of put together. I hear analytics now, and I think if viewers are sports fans, they hear analytics now, and you mentioned something, Bree. It seems like pro teams are getting into analytics. They're taking data, let's say a baseball average in the bigs, and they're finding out who's doing well against whom. Can you explain more how that works? I mean, do you need to be really smart in math, or can a baseball manager who might not have that kind of background do that, or does he rely on a staff? Anybody?
I would say that he would definitely rely on somebody who has that background in the statistics and the knowledge behind it.
So let's go back to math. You guys are both seniors. You played together for 4 years. Did you become friends through softball and math classes here? How did that all work?
It definitely started with softball.
Okay.
I don't think we knew each other like that. We were both math majors even until like sophomore year, maybe.
Wow, that's interesting.
And then I got caught up in math classes, and then we started working our schedules, so it worked out that we were in the same classes.
And when does somebody realize that this is cool? I mean, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to major in. Was it elementary school? Was it middle school? Was it high school where you kind of said, geez, I'm getting this?
I would say for me, it's definitely at a young age. I've always liked math ever since I was little, so I just kind of continued on from there and have enjoyed it up until now.
And now the next step is North Carolina State. Tell us about that program, and you're both going, what it's all about, and how you get into it.
Well, it's a really competitive program.
Okay.
The data actually just came out that 450 students applied, and they accept 80. So we both actually went down for interviews, flew down there, and they interviewed 200. Like I said, they take 80, and now it's a 10-month program, and it starts in June, and it'll end in May.
And a 10-month graduate program?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're one of 80 in the country, in the entire country, What's the interview process like? Is it, take us through that.
It started with, you just fill out like your basic application.
Okay.
They take your resume,
Personal statement.
yep, a personal statement, and your recommendation letters.
Okay.
And then after that, you either get an interview, or you don't, and that's the next step. We opted to go down there and have the interview rather than going via like Skype or something of the
Did you
sorts.
go together?
No.
Okay.
No, Bree got in way before I did.
Okay.
And you get your interview, and then, it took between a few days and a few weeks for them to determine whether you're in the program or not.
Well, let me ask you this then, Bree. So you're at this interview. When I was in journalism, you'd go to the newspaper, and they'd give you a story to write. Do they give you formulas and math problems to figure out, or is it just more of a personal interview and then your resume and they choose from there?
Yeah, it was a group interview. There was 4 other people from the program there, and they talked a lot about your teamwork and stuff of that sort because this is a very group-oriented program.
Really?
They keep people together, and that's the reason they think it's very successful, is people come out with very good teamwork skills.
So let me ask you this question. Did softball and team playing help with that interview, considering what she just said?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think about 50% of my interview was about softball. I related back to it many times, and then there was, I think, maybe 2 math questions, but they're very basic definition type questions.
So you go to commencement May 15th here, and then right off to North Carolina State, or is it a August-September program?
Pretty much we have about 2 weeks and then head down in the beginning of June.
Fantastic. Well, ladies, it's a great story. Congratulations on not only a great season so far, keep that going, but also your academics. We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, we want to mention the Tim Hortons Athlete of the Week, and that's Bumquath Giak from track and field. Bumquath is a freshman fine arts major, and he competed at the Bucknell Classic last weekend, and that was primarily Division I that he was competing against, and broke the school record in the 800 meter at 151.75. That is the 3rd fastest of the year in Division III. And then his 1,500 meter run, he was at 350.51, and that is the fastest in Division III this year. So congratulations to our Tim Hortons Athlete of the Week, and that's Bumquath Giak. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking fashion. Stay with us. Well, we're going to talk a little fashion right now, although we're joined by Kelsey Bashore, the outstanding volleyball player for the Bengals, from Ohio, went down to Louisiana to start her volleyball career at Division I, transferred here to Buffalo State, and we are so glad you did, because not only are you a terrific volleyball player, but we're gonna hear about what a terrific student you are too. So this has been a tremendous show so far. You are majoring in fashion and textile technology, correct?
Yep. Yes.
Tell us what that means and what you do.
Okay, there's 4 different concentrations, but I'm actually concentrating in textile technology and apparel design. So I do a lot of computer work, a lot on Photoshop and Illustrator, and they basically let us come up with our own ideas, and we have to make lines from concept to design. So we'll do a concept board, a trend board. It's a huge process. We make our own patterns, we make our own weaves, and then we'll draw outfits and then apply our patterns to the outfits.
And when you say lines, you mean what? What does that mean to us?
A line is like anywhere from 6 to 12 complete outfits. So
Okay.
we actually construct entire outfits on the computer, and we'll
Okay.
put our patterns into the garment.
The Bashore brand. Pretty
Maybe.
cool.
We'll
I
see.
think I might have something there for you, but I'll take 5% of everything you make. But right now, are you working with materials? Are you putting things like this on the board? Okay, like this material, like that material, or not? Is it all computers?
Mostly right now I'm doing most of it on computers. Next year I'll focus more on handling textiles, but I do take some classes where I do printmaking on the fabric. So we'll buy like sheets of white cotton and I'll put my prints on them. So that's the most I touch materials right now. but next year I will be designing garments.
And then next year you're also going to be doing something here on campus, our big fashion show.
Yeah, I'll be designing a line for the fashion show, so hopefully
Wow.
it gets in. But yeah, I'll have my garments up on the runway.
Do they have enough
eventually.
seats for 400 student athletes to support you? That's the key there.
I'm sure they'd love it.
You just won a incredibly prestigious national award. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, it is the YMA Fashion Scholarship Fund Award. It was a $5,000 scholarship, and they made us go through a huge process of application. So we had to make a 10-page case study. I had to design a line for an online company, and then design the hang tags, everything from concept to design. And they chose 125 in the entire nation.
Wow.
It didn't matter what school you were from, they just chose the top. So there were kids there from Harvard and FIT and just huge prestigious schools, and it was a big honor.
Well, I always find it amazing. I'm going to get on my little podium now and talk about Buff State, but it doesn't, the school itself and the name doesn't matter. It's what you
Right.
put into it
Right.
and the niche that they have. And obviously, we have a niche
Yes.
in this area. And so does Harvard, and so does UCLA. And how about that? I mean, we're right there with them. How did you find out about this award?
This is actually the first year that Buffalo State was able to submit applications,
Okay.
and there was 2 of us that won, but my advisor, Dr. Lynn Boorady, kind of told me about it.
Great.
I found out kind of late because I was very busy with volleyball, so she told me about 3 days before it was due. So I had to work my butt off and get everything done, and I did, and she helped me
Wow.
a lot. Yeah, she made sure everything was in line by the time it was due, and I worked really hard.
Wow. And the pot of coffee was always on, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
That's absolutely correct. How, I got to ask you, how did you do it? I mean, you've got volleyball going on, playoffs.
Yeah. It
A
was
great
right around
run in
that
the
time.
playoffs.
Yeah.
And then basically 3 days.
Yeah,
How does one do that?
The case study was due like 3 days after I found out, but then after we submitted our case studies, they chose about 6 of us, I believe, from Buffalo State, and we had to go through an interviewing process.
Okay.
And then if we proceeded that step of the interviewing, then we had to design the line. So it was kind of in steps.
Okay.
If you made it past a certain stage, then you got to do more. And then they ended up choosing the people in January, I think, the first
Wow.
week of January.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're moving on. Although you're only a junior, you're coming back next year, which I think it's absolutely incredible. You've got a prestigious award. Now you've got a prestigious internship, and it's with a company we all know, and that's Under Armour.
Yep.
What happened there?
My advisor kind of encouraged it because within the last year or so, I think I've found my niche in activewear. I kind of decided I'm an athlete and I love fashion, so how can I blend the two? And Under Armour kind of stuck out in my mind a little bit. So she told me about the program, and she told me it was really competitive. So I ended up applying for it.
Which you loved, being a
Yeah,
competitor.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. So I kind of I knew I deserved it. I knew I could do it, but it was one of those things where it was like, I don't know if I'm actually going to get this, but I want to try. And I went through about 4 months of interviewing. I had 3 interviews with the company, also in stages. My last interview was a Skype interview, and I got to talk to 2 of the head designers for
Wow.
Under Armour.
So let's slow down a little bit now.
Okay.
You're not just applying, you're applying with the rest of the country.
Yes.
You're applying again with the Harvards and the UCLAs and the
Yes.
Michigans and the Syracuses, et cetera, et cetera. And there's Buffalo State, which we love. So they pick how many?
They picked 1 for design.
1. And I'm looking at the one person that they picked.
Yes.
How did you find out about it? And you must have been floored.
Yeah, I was. My advisor knew somebody from Buffalo State that had gone there for the rookie program a couple years back, but it wasn't for design.
Okay.
So he now works there. So she did have kind of a contact for me to ask questions before applying, and he helped me a lot too. His name's Kevin Wright.
Okay.
So I applied, and it was just amazing. The process was amazing.
Yeah. What a great experience. So the whole program, as you said off camera, 40 rookies, but only 1 design student, and that's you.
Yeah, it's going to be for men's apparel, so I'll be
Okay.
designing for men's apparel.
And when does this start? And we got about a minute left. When does this start, and what are you going to be doing?
It starts May 28th, so it's coming up here pretty quick. It's an 11-week program, so I'll be there till August 9th, and they are going to have me paired with one of the men's designers that's working there now. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because I kind of asked them what it would entail, and they told me that they need my input. they want me to help them. So they wanted someone from my demographic to be able to come in and tell them what people my age want to wear. And so it kind of was intriguing to know that I'm actually going to be working for them.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're all proud of you, not only for what you do on the volleyball court, but certainly in the classroom. Have a great time at Under Armour and bring me back something.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to wrap up the show, and what a terrific show. We talked a little athletics, but we talked more about academics, and that's what it's all about. They are, after all, student athletes. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for more Bengal Magazine.